Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to share with you guys the story of my abusive relationship. The reason that I've decided to share this story is in hopes that maybe I'll help someone who may be going through something similar, or maybe help prevent someone from going through the same thing that I did. So I'm just going to get right into it. So after my son was born, I immediately became a single mother, and for about 6 months straight, I really just focused on my motherhood, my job, school. I really wasn't too worried about dating or guys or anything like that. So one night, a couple of my coworkers, they said, "Hey, do you want to go to the bar with us?" And I said, it's been a while since I've been out, so yeah, I'll go out to the bar with you guys and hang out, have fun, mingle a little bit. So it turns out that my coworker had actually invited another male coworker of ours. Now, I had actually never met him because he was a supervisor on third shift and I worked first shift. So we started talking, we introduced ourselves, we made our acquaintance, and he was actually 10 years older than me, but he'd actually gone to the same high school as I did. So, we're talking and we hit it off and we exchanged information, we exchanged numbers and things of that nature, but neither one of us ever contacted the other. He never called me, I never called him, we never text, anything like that. So I was like, whatever, no big deal. I wasn't worried about it at all. So because of school and my schedule, I switched to third shift. So he actually became my supervisor. And because of this, obviously, we saw each other all the time and we started talking a lot more. And so over some time, he asked me on a date. And I said, yeah, sure. So things went really well that night. And so we actually started officially dating after that. Initially, he was nothing like what he turned out to be. He was very, very sweet. He was very caring. I remember one time we were texting and he was like, how's your day going? And I was at work. And I told him, it's going pretty shitty. And no sooner than I had said that, there were flowers delivered to my desk. So he was, everything that I kind of hoped for. He was a supervisor, he was a college graduate, he had his own home. He really seemed like he had himself together, and he pretty much swept me off my feet. I was really smitten by this guy. So things kind of kept going like that for about 3 months. And then, after that, I kind of noticed that he started drinking a little bit more than normal. And so one night I was at his place and he was drinking, and we got into an argument, and he grabbed a metal statue and he threw it at me. And I was kind of shocked because, I would never expect this to come from him. So I was like, whoa. And so, I started rationalizing things in my head and I started making excuses for him. And I said, maybe it was the alcohol, maybe alcohol and him just don't mix, maybe he's an angry drunk. I kind of excused that, episode, and so we continued dating. So one day we get into an argument, and I was everything but the name that my parents gave me. I was a bitch, I was a whore, I was a slut, and he did this in front of his friends. Like, he called me these names and disrespected me in front of his friends. And so I broke things off. I was like, I don't know who this person is, I don't know what's going on. I'm not just gonna stand there and let you disrespect me. So he was constantly calling me. He would leave me letters every single day at my desk at work. He would send me flowers. And so basically it kind of broke me down, and I was like, I don't know what happened. Maybe this was another random occurrence. And so once again, I justified his actions and we started dating again. Really stupid of me. So the drinking continued, the fighting continued, the calling me out of my name continued, and I don't even know, but for whatever reason, I just stayed. I kind of feel like, at the time I was very, weak-minded because I just had this baby. I was a new mom. I was a single mom. I had so many doubts of if anybody else was going to want me with a child. There were just so many different thoughts going on in my head, and so I think that's one of the reasons why I stayed as long as I did. I remember one night we got into another argument, and he pushed me in the kitchen onto the floor and put me in a chokehold. And I was like, that's it, I'm leaving. He barricaded the door so I couldn't leave, and he called the cops. He called the cops and told the cops that I was actually assaulting him. It was insane. And the whole time I'm looking at this guy like, are you kidding me? I'm standing right here and you are lying not only to my face, but to the cops. Like, you're trying to get me arrested. You're trying to get me in trouble. And I'm just baffled by all of this. I can't believe this is happening. The cops arrive, and I told the cops, you know, I didn't put my hands on him. This guy, you know, put me in a chokehold, and nothing happened to him that night. The cops didn't take him or anything. They actually escorted me out. And I was just, like I said, I was just so baffled by all of this. I couldn't believe that this was the guy that I had fell for. And I think that because narcissists are so good at painting this picture of this person, this perfect person in the beginning, I just kept saying to myself, like, where is this guy? Like, he's got to be somewhere. Like, he couldn't just disappear. But the reality of it is that these people that they paint themselves to be don't exist. They're actually the person that they show you they are later on, and that's something that I had to learn. So I kept going back trying to find this person that was never truly really there. So one night, everything was going really well. We were having a really chill night, and then we got into an argument. Go figure. And he poured his whole beer on my head. And I was like, what the fuck? And I had actually just gotten out of the shower at that time, so I had no clothes on. And so once I told him that I was done dealing with him, like, boom, something just completely went off in his head. It's like, it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, with him. Like, everything was good, and then 1 second, like, like, was crazy. So he picks up my clothes and throws them outside. So I have absolutely nothing to wear, and he makes me go outside and grab the clothes. So I grab the clothes, I'm butt naked. So I'm like looking around, making sure no one's staring at me, looking and making sure the neighbors aren't looking outside. I grab my clothes and I run back into the house. I basically just, you know, have my final say. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not dealing with you. Like, I can't believe that I've even stayed as long as I have, blah, 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 just talking shit. He rears back, you guys, hawks a loogie, and spits it in my face. He spit in my face. It was like I just kept saying I was done, and no matter what he did and no matter how far he pushed me to the limit, I just kept going back. And I went back. I went back again. So in the midst of all of this mental and physical and emotional abuse, he was also cheating on me. So one night I went through his phone and I saw him talking to several different women that he had met online. And somehow when I approached him about this, he flipped the script on me and said, you know, that I hadn't been giving him enough attention, that I hadn't been showing him enough love. And so he was reaching out to these women to get attention. That's absolute bullshit. But, you know, somehow he made me feel like what he was doing was actually my fault. He had a way of really mentally abusing me. You know, he really had a way of making me feel like the things that he was doing was because of something that I did. And so I was like starting to apologize, you know, being apologetic. I'm like, I don't know what I could have done. I don't know how you didn't feel like I was giving you more attention, but I'm gonna try harder. So at this point, you know what I'm saying? I'm actually rewarding him in some way for cheating on me. Oh my goodness. So one night I made a comment about, you know, his infidelity. And he's like, you want to see my phone? You want to see my phone? And he's a big 6'2" guy, you know, 200 and some odd pounds of muscle. And he picks up his phone, his iPhone that has an outer box. And you guys know how heavy an outer box is. And this was an iPhone 4, have you? So those were even like heavier and thicker. He picks up his iPhone 4 with the outer box and he chucks it at me full force, and it hits me in my eye. And I actually still have a scar on this eye from where he chucked it at me and it hit me in my face. It hit me in my eye, bounced off my eye, hit me in my lip. So at this point, my eye is busted and my lip is busted. So I'm like, you know what? I'm calling the cops on you. Like, I'm not gonna take this anymore. So he starts begging and pleading and crying for me not to call the cops. And I'm like, okay, fine, I won't call the cops. So I decided not to, but I left. And at that point, I finally had enough. I'd had enough abuse, mentally, physically, emotionally. I finally was done. I had finally reached my breaking point. And he tried with all of his might. He texted me, he called me, he apologized, he cried, but I was finally done. You know, I realized that things were starting to get really crazy, that he no longer valued me. Well, he never valued me at all. And when a person doesn't value you, they can just do whatever they want to with no remorse. and it was just getting dangerous. I had a child to think about. I had a child I needed to stay safe for. I needed to stay alive for. And at that point, I was like, I mean more to myself than what you've made of me. And I'm not going to stand for this anymore. The whole time I realized I wasn't valuing myself. I had no self-worth. I was doubting my worth the whole time. And that's why I stayed with him. And I finally was just like, fuck it. I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. I'm special. I deserve to feel special. I deserve to be with someone who's not going to call me out of my name, who's not going to disrespect me, who's not going to put their hands on me. And, you know, that's why I wanted to share my story with you guys. You know, I went back so many times, you guys, and I know there's so many women out there like that just keep going back, that keep justifying his actions. And the truth is, there is no justifying his actions. There is no reason for any man to ever put a woman down, to ever put his hands on her. Nothing like that. So if you're one of those people out there like me, right now, right this second, stop justifying what that man is doing to you. Stop justifying him putting his hands on you, disrespecting you, calling you out of your name. Know that you are worth way more than what he is making you right now. Know that you deserve the world. You deserve to be loved. Remind yourself of that every day. If you have to look in the mirror every single day at yourself and say, girl, you are beautiful, you deserve the best, then do that, because nobody should have to endure what I endured. Nobody should ever have to go through that at all. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Like I said, I will never go back into a situation like that. I will never put myself into a situation where a guy will ever treat me like that again. And if you are going through something like that, just remember, you are special, you are worthy. Please get yourself out before it is too late. Some people don't get the chance to, and just remind yourself of that. And I do want to thank you guys so much for watching. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you guys on next Storytime Sunday. Bye.